Hey there, everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host here at the Dark Stuff channel on YouTube. Now, it's only spring, and early spring at that, but I already have 4 solid contenders for Album of the Year for 2024, and I'm going to talk and review all 4 of them on this video. So anyone who's been subscribed to the channel or followed me for any amount of time knows that St. Vincent is like among my favorites of all time. I make no bones about the fact that I think she is the greatest artist of the 21st century, of the 2000s, however you want to describe it. She's the most interesting, the most unique, the most innovative, the most talented of anyone else. I mean, there's no comparison to anyone else out there. I just love everything, almost everything that she does. The new album, All Born Screaming, is St. Vincent's 9th album. Now, I came to that number by not including the David Byrne album that she did, the collaboration with him. Otherwise, it would be 10. But I am including Mass Education, which is sort of the alternate version of Mass Seduction, and I'm also including the soundtrack to the Nowhere Inn. So that's where I get my number of St. Vincent albums. Now, as I kind of hinted, I've liked almost everything that she's done, with a little asterisk for 2021's album Daddy's Home, which was her previous album just to this. I went back and I watched my review that I did from a few years ago, and first of all, I'm not advising it. I had serious pandemic beard at the time, and I look terrible. Okay. Having said that, what I was seeing in my review was that I was bending over backwards not to be critical of St. Vincent. Okay. I was clearly not feeling the album, but I didn't want to say so. Maybe I kind of, in the back of my mind, thought, hey, maybe St. Vincent might see this review. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to say anything negative. Well, okay, I get that. She's not going to see this video, and even so, she'd probably respect somebody being more honest than just somebody kissing her ass and just telling her how great she is, even when you don't necessarily believe it. So cat's out of the bag. I didn't really care much for Daddy's Home. It was a period piece. It was set to be sort of sounding like the early 70s. I do like the fact that St. Vincent, for the past maybe 10 years or so, has kind of adopted these sort of different personas. A new album, she has like a new look, and it's a whole new vibe, and it's a whole new, sometimes, sound. And I like and respect that. It's very Bowie. She gets compared to David Bowie a lot. I think maybe that phase of her career is now over, because on the new album, I think it's just her being her. Okay? There's no white Medusa hair. There's no super tight red outfits or whatever. There's no dressing like you're from the Lower East Side in 1974. She's just Annie Clark, okay? And another key asset to this album is that she produced the album herself for the first time in her entire career. Now, this makes sense considering that she has already produced other artists, okay? So she produced a Sleater-Kinney record. She co-writes with other people. She was a collaborator with Taylor Swift on a #1 song, that Cruel Summer song that she did. That's an Annie Clark co-write. So her previous 2 albums, she worked with a producer named Jack Antonoff. He's in that band Bleachers. He works with people like Taylor Swift and a number of other more mainstream artists. And I don't think he tried to make St. Vincent more mainstream. I just think it was a little bit of a streamlining of her sound, like a lot of what I liked about St. Vincent, the sort of the quirkiness and the jumping all over the place stylistically, and her voice and the way it could just be stretched over here and over there and doing this, and the cool guitar parts and stuff. And I think he took a lot of that out, for whatever reason. But he's gone, and we don't have to worry about it anymore, okay? This is St. Vincent producing herself, and that's why this album sounds so much more like St. Vincent than the last one, really the last 2, if I'm just being honest. Now, I got some advanced singles to play on the radio show, and I heard Broken Man, and I was instantly like, whoa, this sounds like 9 Inch Nails from the 90s, and I even said something like, Annie Clark is in her 9 Inch Nails era, And then I heard the second single called Flea, also incredible. The song Flea reminds me a lot of Marrow off the Actor album, which is my personal favorite St. Vincent song ever. So just to compare it to that, it's just so unique and so quirky, and lyrically it is so just unlike the way her brain works is just unlike anyone else. I defy you to come up to listen to Marrow and listen to Flea and, ask, like, where do you think of that stuff? The album does open up on a little bit of a slower train. So it opens up with Hell Is Near, which kind of reminds me of the Strange Mercy album, the last album before she started adopting all of the different personas. Reckless is the next song. It's also nice and smooth and quiet. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Smoking Section from was the last song on Mass Seduction, or almost anything on the Mass Education album. It's piano and just her voice just going at it. Then you get the two rockers that I already mentioned, and then you get to Big Time Nothing, which is super funkified and whatever, and it reminds me of the self-titled album. It's not as though every song sounds like another St. Vincent song, because it doesn't. It's just like an earworm or something. I don't know if I'm using that term appropriately, but it's just something that just kind of reminds me of a general vibe, and it's that vibe, not a specific sound or a specific song or anything. It is what I liked about St. Vincent and what I found less likable on the last album, really the last two. I guess in short, I would just say the new St. Vincent, All Born Screaming, sounds like St. Vincent again. Okay? I mean, it's not her trying to recreate an old sound or an old album. It's just like the filter of a producer, especially one that maybe I shouldn't question their motives, but maybe I'm gonna, just wasn't the right person, in my opinion. And I think when you look back 10 years from now, because St. Vincent will still be here and still be making albums, she will look back on that Daddy's Home Mass Education period as like a dip before she really started coming back with All Born Screaming. Next up in my contenders for 4 possibilities of album of the year is the 6th album from Waxahatchee. It's called Tiger's Blood. Waxahatchee is the stage name, or I guess for lack of a better term, for Katie Crutchfield, who is a singer-songwriter, originally I want to say from Alabama, although I have heard she lives in the Kansas City area, and that is why she is wearing a KC hat on her on the cover of the album. Now Waxahatchee switched labels again. She's always only been on the best of the indie label scene. I mean, she started off on Don Giovanni, a great label. She moved over to Merge, a great label. Now she's over at Anti, also a great label. So she only seems to be working with like the best, and people are obviously recognizing her talent. Her sound has evolved a lot over the years. She started off and she was just straight up guitar indie rock. If you listen to the music on Tiger's Blood, it's really a continuation of her last album, St. Cloud. There's not a hint of indie rock anymore. It's a straight up country album, or I guess they don't use the term alt country anymore. It's not even alt country, it's just country, okay? Or Americana, okay, is the preferred term. I guess it's Americana now because alt something people don't like, and I get it, because you don't want to be affiliated. I'm an alternative of something that I'm not. I mean, I don't even know. So yeah, I guess we'll just call it an Americana album in the same sense that you would call like Jason Isbell and the Old 97s and groups like that also would be considered Americana. Alt country, we're going to retire that name right now. The album was produced by a guy named Brad Cook, who also produced her last album. He plays on the album a little bit. When I put this album on, I get lost in it. I get lost in her voice. I get lost in the lyrics. I get lost in the storytelling, in just the general vibe. And I'm one of these people who likes very countrified indie music, but I don't necessarily listen to country music. So maybe that's why I'm so attracted to this music. I liked Waxahatchee when they were playing loud guitar rock, but they don't do that anymore. And I have followed the evolution over the years, and I love where the band has landed now. When you're checking out the album, you're going to want to check out Right Back to It. That was the first single. These are my other favorite songs. Ice Cold is incredible. Evil Spawn, 365. Really, all of the entire album is fantastic. Running wild and running free. This year tried to... My third choice for early contender for album of the year is the new album from Hurray for the Riff Raff called The Past Is Still Alive. Now, you might have had a hint of this, because when I was previewing albums for 2024, I talked about the advanced single that came from this album. It was called Alibi, and I kind of in a weak moment mentioned how, like, it gets me all verklempt every time I hear it. There's something about it that just affects me, the way the melody goes, her voice, whatever. Now, I've heard it now like 50 or 60 times, so it's like it doesn't have quite the same effect on me, but I will say that if that song doesn't tug at your heartstrings, I question whether you even have heartstrings. Okay, so Hurray for the Riff Raff is the project from Alinda Segarra, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. I'm not good with the names, okay? The band was originally, Alinda was originally from the Bronx, now resides in New Orleans. And there is an actual band. I mean, I saw this band twice in, let's see here, 2022 perhaps, opening for Bright Eyes 2 nights in a row. I was working at the venue, and so I was there, and I saw the show 2 nights in a row. They were very, very good. And I liked that last album a lot, and I thought it was very promising. This new album takes it to another level entirely. Now, I think that this album and the Waxahatchee album that I just discussed are two sides of the same coin, okay? They're both in that, what used to be known as alt country or alt folk, and now it's just straight up Americana, I guess is what you would say. The album also produced by Brad Cook, who produced the Waxahatchee album, so there's another similarity, plays a little bit on it. The album is very dark and very sad, and it, I guess, has a lot to do with the fact that it was written and recorded following the death of Alinda's father. So that, I think, lends to the sort of the sad tone, and the reason maybe why it affected me or something. Well, I didn't know what she was specifically writing about, but it affected me nonetheless. I mentioned Bright Eyes. Connor Oberst does some backup vocals. Mike Mogus from the band Bright Eyes mixed the album. My favorite songs on it are the aforementioned Alibi, a great song called Buffalo, another tune called Hawk Moon, and one on the side 2 called Vetiver. But really, there's not a bad tune on the album. And it's just I get so like lost in it when I'm listening to it. I don't hear the phone. I don't hear other things going on when Alinda starts singing, and I get caught into that vibe. I need help, guys. Fourth album I'm going to talk about is the debut album from gglum called The Garden Dream. Now, gglum is really just a sort of moniker or a stage name or whatever for Ella Smoker, who is a 21-year-old singer-songwriter from London. First of all, 21 and you're this fucking good. I mean, imagine how great she'll be at 30 or 35 or whatever. It's just incredible. The sound of the album would fall generally under like dream pop or kind of spacey dream pop, or I've been reading some other things about it where they refer to it as bedroom pop. I don't really know what that means. I mean, bedroom is a location, not so much a sound, but whatever. You don't really gaze at your shoes to make shoegaze. It's just a term. And speaking of shoegaze, it is shoegaze-ish. I mean, I got a single sent to me for the radio show for the song Glue, and it's one of the more rocking songs on the album. So at first I heard this kind of loud guitar, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is like new wave of shoegaze, like fourth wave or whatever wave we're on at the moment. And I was instantly loving it, started playing it on the show. The second single was called Splat. Again, more rocking. Another one that could vaguely be considered shoegazy, but again, it's maybe this dream pop or bedroom pop or whatever. Basically, it hits all of my sweet spots, okay? It's got a woman's voice. It's got elements of 90s music. It's got guitar. It touches my little points here, okay? Once I heard the rest of the album, though, I have to say that the shoegaze moniker doesn't necessarily fit. There's some just singer-songwriter-y stuff. There's whatever. But she does have the ability to create, like, this elements of chaos in the sound really quick, and then it just ends and goes right back into a quieter section. It's really good. She's got the dynamics going, and if this is just I don't have the credits in front of me, so if this just is literally like a person in their bedroom making this, like, goddamn, again, like I said before, like, she's only 21 at this point. Imagine how good her shit is going to be when she's 30. Okay, I mean, I see nothing but upside for this artist. Glum, I've never had a debut album be my number one of the year, but could 2024 be the one? By the way, I have put links to a video for at least one song off all 4 of these albums, so you can't say you didn't have an opportunity to listen to them. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
So, you have a MySpace page or something?